And I know I could tell you anything. You won't judge, you just listen then. 'Cause you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. 'Cause my darling, you and I could take over the world, one step at a time, just you and I. And you're the only one who brings light just like the sun, one step at a time, just you and I.
Happy Wednesday on the Morning Coffee Podcast. My name is Rick Alexander. You guys can follow me at Rick Alexander _ or at the Morning Coffee Podcast on Instagram. My question for you today is, what are you a slave to? You know, one of my deepest values is freedom and all the different ways that shows up in my life. And sometimes it's freedom of expression. That's how I look and how I dress and what I do and how I talk and how I communicate. To me, that matters a lot. And that was one of the places that I started finding a little rift with my time in the service, in the military, because I do really value my freedom to express myself in the way that I want to. And of course, when you're talking about a bureaucratic organization, it's got to be extremely scalable. So there's got to be constringent guidelines in place in order to scale something to that level. And so it's totally understandable. But it wasn't for me, right? Like I got to a point where my values started shifting in life and freedom to express became super important. And, you know, when I talk about my value for the first part of my career and getting out of the military, that was how I felt. I'm like, I want to be able to express myself. I want to be able to talk about things. I want to talk about things that are totally, unacceptable, like psychedelic use, like one of the things that can really, really change your life. It's not something you can go into stupidly or uneducated or without the proper understanding of how it can affect you, but it's changed my life in a massive way. And so anyway, I wanted the freedom to articulate things. And I got kind of obsessed with this idea of freedom. And I think sometimes we do because it is a little bit intoxicating, especially when you start feeling it. And like for my life, I've developed the ability to live anywhere I want, go anywhere I want, do anything I want. Now, with that freedom comes inherent responsibility because, of course, nobody now is telling me when to come to work or what to do. And so the freedom has a flip side. And that was one of the things I started finding out about it. And I've done past podcasts about freedom. We did a July 4th episode on sort of the real true cost of freedom. And I would go back and check that out. But what I've come to find is if you feel like you need something, you're not truly free. Now, in Western culture, nobody's a Buddhist monk, right? Like nobody's going to detach themselves completely of all of the impulses and the compulsions and the dopamine cycles and the things that they need. But we could certainly do a hell of a lot better than we currently are, right? And I think that's true. You see it with social media use. You see it with all of the things that produce dopamine, drinking, drugs, whatever it is. I think we could do better, like sitting with our needs and not really becoming a slave to them. But one of the things that I wrote back in March in my journal was the realization that we're all slaves to something. But not always to our desires, but to something a little bit deeper than what it is that we want. The thing that we become slave to is the thing that's protecting whatever we went through that was traumatic. So there's something, and here's a question to ask yourself. I've asked it on here many times, but what is the thing that you're not willing to face? That's a question to ask yourself because that has an answer for you and it's got a deep answer and there's a lot of pain involved. And so, especially when you start working through childhood traumas and things like that, But look, if you want to be truly free and you want to show up in the world exactly how you want to be, then this is the kind of stuff that you got to put time into. That's the real work. Like accepting that you've been hurt because you didn't understand everything fully every single time you went through it. And so people brushed you off and people put you down and people told you were stupid and people made fun of you. And people have been not trying to hurt yourself, but prop up their own ego. And in doing so, we've all been traumatized to one degree or the other. And now what we become a slave to is the avoidance of whatever triggers that trauma. And that's what happens in our lives. One of the things I figured out when I was sort of working through some of my coping mechanisms is that when I was in 7th grade, I was listening to music and, I was a weird artsy kid. So there's that. And I'm like listening to music and I found a band that I really liked. And I'm not going to say the band because it's embarrassing. But I run out in like 7th grade. I show it to my sister and she's like, yeah, that sucked. And she's not being mean. She's just being an older sister. She was like, yeah, get that trash out of here, right? Like she was even nicer than that. But I had put so much time and work into, like, I'm so passionate about what I love and the things I believe, and I was then too. And so I was so passionate about music. And so I found these bands. I was always finding bands, and sometimes people liked them and sometimes they didn't. But at the time I didn't realize it's not, in 7th grade, you can't process stuff. And however old you were when you got hurt, you couldn't process stuff either. And so what happened is I was slighted by my sister, and what I realized in reliving that moment, it was such a small thing, something I would never even think about or like pay any mind to or attention or whatever. And then what I realized is every single decision that I had made in my adult life was to ensure that I would never be slighted again. And so I had no problem being overly aggressive, telling you to fuck off. Like, I've told you guys about my coping mechanisms and stuff, just going the other way, being overly rebellious and letting you know about it. All these things so that I would just never feel slighted. Because for me, like, if somebody looks at your passion and your hard work and the things you want to do with apathy, it kind of hurts in a way that, well, truthfully, it hurts in a way that other things don't hurt, right? It feels like it's an assault on your character and your soul and the things that you want, especially when you're in 7th grade and you have no reference for what that means or what it looks like. So you've got to ask yourself, or you don't have to ask yourself anything, but if I were you, I would really sit down with yourself, a journal, maybe a therapist, somebody who can help walk you through some of this childhood stuff. It's stuff that I got into like maybe a year ago. It's helped me like work through a bunch of stuff in my life. And just recently I've uncovered more things. And I'm like, oh God, I got to sit with this because I want to be free. I want to be free to express myself and to, live this life on my own terms. But if you're a slave to this fear around this trauma, then you're never actually free. And so you have to figure out what it is that you're avoiding. I've said on the show before, like, most people are actually angry about the same thing. You're just expressing it in many, many different ways. So you got to find out, what is it that you're angry about? Why are you angry about it? And then you've got to learn to reparent yourself around that thing. And that's super difficult and it's super painful. And most people spend time avoiding it. I'm at the point right now where I'm starting to face it, and it's just intensely painful. But again, the price of freedom is not what people think it is, right? The price of freedom is, well, it's your old life. And that's what I'm doing an Instagram TV on this week. But that's what it is. It's, you have to pay for your freedom. And the price is this different kind of life. You have to go sit with the stuff that nobody else wants to face. That's how you get a different life. That's how you get a different love life, a different, professional life, whatever. You have to face the demons that other people don't want to face. All the scary shit, the risk, the trauma. You sit with that stuff, you work through it, you process it, you establish a new relationship with it, and then you get a new kind of life. But that new kind of life, that's the cost. And that's what I'm finding out. I'm paying it right now. Me and Danielle are paying it in our relationship because we're having to live at our highest level of knowledge. And that means that we have to sit with really uncomfortable things, and we have to figure out how to come together on those things. Right. And so I want you to be aware of that, because again, the question to ask yourself is, what are you a slave to? What is the deepest thing that you're not willing to face? Whatever that is, it's directing your actions in ways that you would never choose if you had the choice. Anyway, hope you guys have an amazing day. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking to Jeff DePazzi about his program called The Process, of which I am a cadre. And it's really a post-traumatic growth experience for people that are looking to go out into the woods, really be put into the trenches of adversity, test themselves. So if you listen to this show, tomorrow will be a long form interview, but I do hope that you join me for that, because we really, after about 10 or 15 minutes in that show, we really dive into some deep topics. So I love you guys, though. We'll chat tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
If I wrote you a symphony just to say how much you mean to me, what would you do? If I told you you were beautiful, would you date me on the regular? Tell me, would you? Well, baby, I've been around the world, but I ain't seen myself another girl like you. This ring here represents my heart, but there's just one thing I need from you. Say I do. Because I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, let me make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away my love. smile at every word I wrote. What would you do? Would that make you wanna change your scene and wanna be the one on my team? Tell me, would you? See, what's the point in waiting anymore? 'Cause girl, I've never been more sure that baby it's you. This ring here represents my heart and everything that you've been waiting for. Just say I do. Because I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, wanna make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love.
So don't give away.
My love.
So don't give away.
My love.
So don't give away.
In the middle of a woman that can take your spot. My love.
So don't give away.
My love.
So don't give away.
My love.
So don't give away.
In the middle of a woman that can take your spot. My love.
It's time to hit it, Jay-Z. I don't know what she hesitating for, man.
Hey, Shawty cool as a fan on the news once again, but he still has fan from Peru to Japan. Hey, listen, baby, I don't wanna ruin your plan, but if you got a man, try to lose him if you can. 'Cause the girls real wide, throw their hands up high when they wanna come and kick it with a stand-up guy. And you don't really wanna let the chance go by, 'cause you ain't been seen with a man so fly. Baby, friend so fly, I can't go fly. Private 'cause I handle my B.I. They call me Candle Guy, simply 'cause I am on fire. I hate to have to cancel my vacation, so you can't deny. I'm patient, but I ain't gon' try. You don't come, I ain't gon' die. Hold up, what you mean you can't go wide? Me and your boyfriend, we ain't no tie. You say you wanna kick it when I ain't so high, but baby, it's obvious that I ain't your guy. I ain't gon' lie, I feel your space, don't forget your face, I swear I will. St. Bart, St. Bullet, anywhere I chill. Just bring with me a pair, I will.
I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, wanna make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love. My love. My love. In the middle of a woman that can take your spot. My love. My love. My love. In the middle of a woman that can take your spot. My